Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Brickfilmer podcast. That's right. We're already at double digits. My goodness. We're already like that's amazing. Like this whole thing has flown by. Like I do an episode every other week. But it feels like I do an episode every week. That's just how fast time's been flying. It's bonkers. But yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody who tunes in to the podcast. Like, thank you so much. It means a lot. I really enjoy doing this, and I'm just so glad that you guys get a lot of value from it, from just me talking on a blank screen. I just find that amazing. And yeah, thank you all for, we got 10 questions today. 10 questions. Is my mic too loud? I think my mic's too loud. But yeah, we got 10 questions today for episode 10. I didn't plan that. That's just how many questions I got. I just found that pretty cool. But 10 questions, my goodness. And they're good questions too. Yeah. That's amazing. I don't want to ramble too long, but I just want to take a moment and just thank you all so much for tuning in. It really means a lot. Yeah. And before we jump into our first question, which is about voiceover, actually the first two questions are about voiceover tips. I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the sponsor of today's episode. Yeah, I'm sponsored. If you haven't caught on, I've been sponsored a lot. And that is, our sponsor today is my free storytelling cheat sheet. It's basically a free downloadable PDF that goes over everything you need to know to tell a great story for your animations. And also it doubles as a checklist. So it's just 4 simple checks you run each one of your stories through. And if they make it through each check, then you can rest assured that your story is great and ready to animate. And below the checks are like comprehensive teachings on the various checks and what it's all about. Like one's about creating interest in your story. I have like a whole thing about that I typed up. I had a lot of fun making it. And I am very confident that it will help you a lot. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. And with that said, let's jump. It's in the pinned comment, by the way. But I'm so structured and coordinated. With that said, let's jump into the first question, which is from Ninjago and Dinosaur Fan 12. He asked, how would I voice good dialogue itself without it sounding flat? And how can I have characters talking while doing stuff like fighting or running or opening cupboards, that kind of stuff? Firstly, is it cupboards or cupboards? I don't know. But how would I voice good dialogue self without it sounding flat? I'll answer that question first. The idea is simple, the execution not so much. It all boils down to just talking louder into your mic and really getting in character, right? Like really study your story, study your script, and really think about, okay, here's who this character is. Based on that, if he's a goofy character, like what should he sound like? And kind of craft that and keep consistency with that. Like say, let's take Smiley Face Dude for example. He definitely, if there was any character I voiced that sounded flat, it would not be him because yeah, he has like a cool accent like this and very quirky voice. But that's just how I did that was just I formed a voice based on how goofy this character was, and I just kind of built it. I had to work a little bit on kind of crafting the voice for it. It took me a little bit, but I finally got it to a point where it was like a country accent, but without like the countryness to it, if that makes sense. Like, it takes bits from a country accent, but it doesn't go full in. So it sounds super unique. But yeah, definitely not sounding flat there. What I just did there, I just talked louder into the mic. I just acknowledged the fact that it was a quirky voice. I feel like my mic's too loud. I apologize if I'm hurting your ears. Let me turn it down a bit more. But I just embraced the quirkiness, and I just gave it my all. That's what you got to do with voiceovers, especially if you have like goofy characters. Like, just give it your all. No, actually that applies to any character, no matter how serious they are. Like, really embody like what this character is feeling. Like, really let that come across in your voice. And yeah, just work on being more confident. Like, don't worry about people around you. If there's anybody listening, don't worry about that. Just give it your all, because it will like 10x the quality of your voice lines. And that's not an exaggeration either. Like, I will guarantee you, if I mumbled in my Brickfilms, you would not think it was a great Brickfilm. Like, you would, but it would take away from it a lot. Voiceovers, yeah, they add a lot to a Brickfilm. And you asked, how can I have characters talking while doing stuff like fighting or running or opening cupboards, that kind of stuff? Let's start with like opening cupboards or like drawers or cabinets. You would really just voice it the same way, because how I think about it is like the minifigure's not exerting any energy from opening drawers or stuff like that, so that shouldn't carry on into the voice line. How is my mic still? Okay, I have it turned all the way down. Hopefully that sounds better. But like, he's not exerting any energy, so that shouldn't carry into the voice line. All right. So that would just be normal. You wouldn't even acknowledge it. With running, I would say with running, you would kind of just act like you're running without running. You know, kind of let that energy kind of carry forth. Like, you know, move your shoulders back and forth. kind of talk like that, you know. You get the picture. But kind of act like you're running. Don't like actually run, because that's not gonna be great for voiceovers. But like, pretend you're running while you're like sitting down or whatever. I mean, you can stand up too if you want. But yeah. However, you bring up fighting, and this creates a whole different aspect I haven't really considered before. Because I thought about it a little bit, and I'm like, wait, if you know the voice, like what the people are gonna say during the fight, but you don't know the actual fight choreography, then if you voice the lines before the animation, it can be hard to know when to grunt, when to like go like, yeah, you know. You don't know when to do that until you see the animation. So there are two solutions to that. The first would be to voice over before the animation and like grunt whenever feels necessary during the dialogue. And then from those grunts, you can build the fight scene. Does that make sense? Like, you build the fight scene around when they grunt. Like, if they grunt in this part of the dialogue, maybe they dodge a punch, maybe they throw a punch, maybe they're like pushing against their opponent. And like, build that off of the voice lines. If it was me personally, I think that's what I would do, because I'm very lenient on how I do fight scenes. When I do fight scenes, I haven't really done a fight scene in a while, but I would be very lenient on it and just go based off the voice line. And I think that could really add to the voice lines when you build the fight scene around the dialogue. That becomes really fun and interesting, and it makes it feel like one coherent moment. I like that. The other, if you don't want to go down that route though, maybe you have a different situation where that wouldn't really work for you. Maybe you have really specific fight scenes you want to do, but you don't know how it connects with the dialogue, like with grunts and stuff. I would say if you want to go a different route, you could do like animate the fight scene. I'm not sure how much I would recommend this though, because I personally don't recommend animating before you do the voice lines. But if there were any situation where I would vary from that recommendation, it would be here. I would say animate the fight scene, and then when you reference the script and kind of move them according to the script. But that way you have more creative liberties with the fight scene, and then you can go back and voice over, and then you can see actually where they need to grunt. Maybe that would work better. What these two options are at simplest is just, do you want to have creative liberties with the voiceover, or do you want to have creative liberties with the fight scene? I think the first option with like voicing over first will give you creative liberties in both. It will kind of confine the fight scene a little bit, but I don't think that's going to hurt your animation because it serves the dialogue. Whereas the second option where you animate first and then put in a dialogue afterwards, I feel like it would box you in with your voiceovers more than the first option would box in your animations. Right? So if I were to give a short answer, it would just be voiceover first, add in the grunts of like wherever you think it fits in the dialogue, and then build off from that for your animation. And go like, okay, he grunts here, I'm going to have this happen. Maybe he dodges a punch, Maybe he does a spin kick, maybe he does a backflip, I don't know. And yeah, it doesn't really box in your animations as much as I don't think it would. It would just give you more of a basis on like, okay, he has to do something here because he grunts. Okay. Maybe it helps. But yeah, that's what I would do. Hopefully that helped. I feel like I covered that, but if you have any like follow-up questions to that, or if I didn't explain something clearly enough, then feel free to ask some follow-up questions, because I want to make sure I got the point across there. On Peace Productions added a little bit to this question. He asked, how do you speak confidently for dialogue? I kind of went over this already, but how you speak confidently for dialogue, because the big thing, at least for me, and I know a lot of people, think this, is, they'll shut themselves in their closet, right? In their bedrooms, in their closet, and they turn on the mic, and they go to record voice lines, but they end up mumbling. Why do they end up mumbling? Because in the back of their minds, in the back of all of our minds, especially me, like, I'm thinking, oh no, if I raise my voice just a decibel louder, people might hear me. No, people might hear me. Especially if you're like really silly dialogue and you're like, I don't want a living soul to hear me say this out loud. Like, if it's just so random and silly. I think that's in the back of all of our minds. Like, this makes sense to me, but if somebody just, heard me say this randomly, they would think, they would be concerned about me. I think that's in the back of all of our minds. But what I do is I wait until nobody's in the house, usually. That's what I like to do. But usually that, sometimes I need to have voice lines before then. So what my recommendation is, if there's people in the house and you're concerned about them hearing you, just acknowledge the fact that they will. I would say the best thing to do is just let everybody know ahead of time and go like, hey, I'm about to voice over for this project, for this animation that I'm about to make. I'm going to be talking loudly into the mic to get better quality audio. So don't be alarmed if I start shouting random stuff. Everything's fine, And just play it off like that. They'll be perfectly fine with it. You might get some eavesdroppers. I don't know. That depends. But I wouldn't worry about it. What I want you to do is do that. Go up into your closet. And I want you to imagine that there's literally nobody within a 1 mile radius of you. Like, nobody's near you. Just imagine it. Just put yourself in this mental space like, nobody's around me. Because you can do that now because everybody knows that you're doing voice lines, so you don't have to worry about, making people tilt their heads like, what in the world is going on in there? So you can do this now. So you just imagine nobody's anywhere near you. You're the only person. And then I want you to really embody the character. And here's the key. Have fun. Don't treat it like a chore. Get in character. And once you do that with confidence, you reach a level where like you're talking louder than you usually do. You're like, yeah, I'm doing these voice lines. And it's just so fun. Like, once you reach that level of confidence, like, it's great. And just a word of encouragement. This might shock you, but in my everyday life, I typically mumble. Like, I usually talk like this. And, it's kind of like this, right? So I say that to be like an encouragement. Like, you don't have to be the greatest speaker or communicator to, like, do great voice lines. I double down on my voice whenever I'm doing voice lines because I know the quality is in the volume of my voice. And like the enunciation of the words, so that way they can be as clear as possible, so people aren't like putting their ears to the phone speaker and be like, what did this guy say? But yeah, that's what I do. That's what I encourage you to do. And yeah, but it's always easier whenever nobody's in the house. That's what I aim for personally. But, it's okay if people are in the house. It's no biggie. All right. The third question we have is from the Big Kid 3. He asked, here's a question. Do you have any tips on animating with the arms out of their sockets? I have dabbled with it a bit, but it never looks right. I'm in the same boat. I need to get to a point where I just take a break from whatever I'm animating and just spend a week practicing out of socket arm movement. The next question is about camera movement. I want to practice more camera movement, out of socket movement, like action, impact, stuff like that, because I really am lacking in that regard. I'm a pretty good animator in other aspects, but those things like camera movement, out of socket movement, I really want to get better at that. So, but I do understand the theory behind what makes it look good. So I'm gonna speak on that, hopefully to help you out a bit. So the thing with out of socket arm movement is that you're entering from a 1D space to a 3D space. Let me explain. So whenever the arms are in their socket, they're just moving up and down. They can only move in one direction, up and down, one axis, if you will. That's one dimension, up and down. It's not even 2-dimension, because 2-dimension will be side to side and up and down. But as soon as you take the arms out of their socket, you're entering this 3D space. They can go up and down, side to side. They can go back and forth, if you wanted to, like do a punch or something. So you're entering a very complex space. And that's why I don't really do out of socket arm movement unless I have to. If it serves the animation, because I know it's going to be a lot more time consuming. Like, say with dialogue, sometimes I'll do like out of socket stuff, like with like that dialogue tutorial. I think I did a few, just to have more articulation. But what makes an out of socket arm movement look good is, I would say, not even worry about putty when you're starting out. Don't even worry about if putty's visible. You want to work on just making it look smooth. And how you make it look smooth is you follow arcs, ease in, ease out. The main picture I want you to have here is like, think, whatever you're animating, really, this applies, is think in terms of like a consistent path. It doesn't have to be an arc. It could be a straight line if you want it to. But you got to think in like this consistent path where the arm's moving. Let's say you want the arm to move like from reaching out to like to the side and up a little bit. Well, what you would do is you would start up and to the right a little bit, ease in, do a bigger movement. Let's say it's a snapping movement. Do a big one up and to the right, and then a small one up and to the right, and then maybe another small one to smooth it out, and maybe a little kickback. But yeah. But what makes that look smooth, arcs would make that smoother, but it depends on what you're trying to animate. What makes that look smooth is that it's following a clean path, a clean line, right? As soon as you bump the arm down a little bit, or to the left a little bit, or it doesn't even have to be that. Maybe it moves up and to the right one frame, and in the next frame it just moves to the right. It doesn't even move up. A lot of animators miss that. And it's worth catching and taking note of to be like, is this following a straight line, or is this following a curved line that's consistent? Not like a squiggly line. We don't do squiggly lines. We do a curved line. That's an arc. One clean arc for every movement. And if you can do that, practice on that, master that, boom, you got good solid animation. Pair that with ease in, ease out, and a good sense of timing, which comes from frame rate, knowing your frame rate well, and you are ready to go. I mean, that's where it's at. But yeah, that's all I got for you for out of socket arm movement. I want to have more experience with that so I can, share more experience instead of just theory. But right now, that's all I got. Hopefully that helped. All right, the next question from Outer Rim Rogues. Also, my first Spotify comment, which is really cool. I mean, not first comment, but like first question from Spotify. Oh, also, if you didn't know, Brickfilm podcast is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so be sure to check it out and give it a follow. Really helps me. Leave a comment or leave a review, 5-star review. If you're not going to leave a 5-star review, don't leave a review. But yeah. Let's see. He asked, how can I do camera movements with fight scenes? Very good question. I would say when you're starting out, don't overdo it. Keep the camera still, maybe a little bit of camera shake, a little ease in, ease out, ease in, ease out, ease in, ease in, just a little bit, not much, because I've fallen into the trap of overdoing it with camera shake, and it makes the scene makes the viewer really dizzy. So don't overdo it, just do a little subtle camera movement. Make it feel flowy. Unless it's like an intense fight scene, then maybe you can shake it a little bit. But I would say mainly do camera movement when you want to show impact. If somebody just punched somebody, follow that arm movement, track that arm movement, and whenever it lands on the subject, kick the camera back. Show that force being like, boom. Like it was just, all that force just came to this tipping point of like, and like the guy launches or something, you want to show that impact through the camera movement. And I'm still working on that myself with like getting it to look right and not cheesy. So there's no, I want there to be like some like quick tip I can give you for that, but it just really comes from getting a feel for it. Watch good animations for like that do it well and really analyze frame by frame. Why did this look good? Why did this camera movement actually land on impact and actually not take away from the action, but really added to it and made it look so good? And you just analyze it. If you need to, screen record it, because I know it's hard to go frame by frame on YouTube. Screen record the animation and then plop it on your editor, your phone editor, and just scroll frame by frame and really see like, how did they do this? Honestly, anytime you see a good animation, just do that, because you will learn so much and be like, okay, I like what he did there. I'm going to practice doing that. And that's not copying. That's just taking inspiration from like different aspects of different animators and their animations to make yours the best it can be. So don't confuse that for copying. It's just learning through analyzing. All right. The next question we have is from Mr. Lego Bricked, or Brick D2. I don't know. He asked 2 questions for the next podcast. What is your opinion on including blood on stop motion? And what matters more, quality or length of a video? Or is it both? On the subject of blood in stop motion, I'm personally mostly against it. I say that because people overdo it. The people who do use it just overdo it. It's just like way too much, and I'm like, okay, you're just trying to make a gory animation. That I really cannot stand behind that. No. However, that's more on a subject of unnecessary violence. But whenever you use blood in a stop motion in a meaningful way, like say you just told this story of this main character, he went through so much. He's in the midst of a battle and he has like, lashes on his arm, a little bit of blood, just to show he is like trying to push through this like conflicting moment in the story. That's a great visual representation of that, and that serves the story. So I'm not against blood. It's just people don't use it in a meaningful way, if that makes sense. They just do it because they think it's cool. And that's a dangerous trap. I wouldn't recommend it. But you can use it in a meaningful way to, show that your main character is going through like this battle, and like he is persevering. And you can use it in a good way. It is a tool. Just don't overuse it to the point of where it loses its meaning. That's pretty much all I have to say on that. What matters more, quality or length of a video? Or is it both? I want to say you're talking about animation, but you said video. So maybe I'll talk on both. I'll talk on both. Why not? So with animation, I would say don't make an animation longer than it has to be. Like just to put in a side character or like a random side story that isn't really that necessary. You can make it longer by putting in more jokes or something, ideas you have that you want to put in. That's fine. It adds to the quality. But I think for animation, I wouldn't make it longer than it has to be. Maybe you want to make a scene a bit longer to help it land. If it's like a pivotal scene, maybe you want it to last longer to make it like really land. I can see that. So I'm not saying rush the animation, but I am saying don't add in random story plots or stuff like that doesn't serve the overarching story. Or maybe you don't have a story in your animation. Maybe it's just, maybe you do, but it's not like your thing, right? Maybe it's just an animation that's, what am I saying? Why would you have a long animation without a story? Never mind. Forget I said that. I don't know what I was going on there. But yeah, I would say the quality is in how well you tell your story, how well you make the animation, and all that good stuff. length doesn't really play a role in that, because it's more of a tool than an end goal, if that makes sense. Like, it's, if you want something to last a little longer, make it longer. However, don't make length of a video, like, say you're trying to, I don't think you're wanting watch hours from your animation. That's not why you're asking this question. But yeah, of course, don't do that. Don't make a 20-minute animation because you think it's going to give you more watch hours. Please don't. That's a dangerous trap. But yeah, on the subject of YouTube videos though, like, I guess we could say I'll go on the subject of challenge videos and then educational content. We'll start with challenge videos. So, challenge videos, of course, they gotta be snappy, but I like to have them breathe. If I were to make a challenge video, which I might, I would make it so, yes, it's fun, it's edited, I have fun in the edit, I put a lot of stuff in the edit, and I would cut it up to cut the fluff, but also I kind of want to make it breathe. I'll let it breathe, and that includes having a longer video. That all depends on what your goal is. If you just want clicks, then maybe just make it more retention-y. If you want it for more educational purposes, maybe you want to show people how you overcame this hurdle in your animation through this challenge. Just let it breathe a little so people can actually see what you're doing. And the same goes with educational content. I like a longer educational video because, like, short 1-minute tips are great, like shorts and stuff. Great educational content there, but of course, I'm in this phase where I just like long form content, like podcasts and stuff. Hence why I have a podcast right now. Wow. But I like long form content, like, say, this episode here, because it helps you to soak in the information, not just receive it, right? Because there's a difference between actually learning, like learning a tip, and actually understanding how to apply it, and having enough breathing room in the video so you can stop and think, like, oh, I can apply this tip to this, and you can't really do that with a short because there's, it's snappy. There's words everywhere. You're trying to keep up. You don't have time to actually mentally process everything and apply it mentally to, like, what you're planning on using the tips for. Whereas slower paced podcasts like this, I'd sometimes talk fast, but usually on these podcasts, I try to talk, in a calmer, slower voice. Of course, I get excited occasionally, but I try to talk in a slower tone, so it helps you to actually process the tips and learn on a deeper level. That's why I like longer form videos. That's why I like my last 2 story videos are longer than a lot of the videos I've made before, because I wanted to really take the time and paint the picture and help you out and give you time to, like, watch me do something and go, like, oh, I could do this. Ooh, I could do that. And, like, just inspire you through educating you. And you can't really do that through short content. You can, but it's more limiting. But yeah, that's my thoughts on animation content, challenge video content, and educational content, like length versus quality. I know I, like, answered your question every single format that I could answer it in. So, yeah. Yeah. Next question is from Barley Ministry. He asks, what is the most important part of making a Lego stop motion very good question. Very good question. I'm going to say story. Don't get offended. I think a lot of people misunderstand when I say story is the most important part of an animation, because they go, oh, but animation quality, lighting, composition, this is all important too, because if you don't have that, then nobody cares about the story. 100% agree with that. I'm not saying that you can have story and nothing else and it'll be great. That's called a book. I mean, we're trying to do visual storytelling, not textbook storytelling. So when I say story is the most important part of an animation, I don't mean it's the only thing that contributes to the performance and like the overall impact an animation can have, right? It's vital, but by itself, it needs more than just it. It's a big slice of the pie, but it's not the whole pie. It's more of the core of the pie, right? You don't want a donut, because that's what you're getting if you don't have a story in your animation. You get a donut. You want a full pie, right? At the same time, where am I going with this? Anyways, but yeah, animation is a big slice of it. Not as big as story, but it's there. It contributes to it. Lighting, audio, sound design, editing, color grading. It all contributes it. These are all slices of the pie. But storytelling is either a big slice of the pie or it's the center of the pie. I don't really know exactly how this works in my little analogy, but it's somewhere there. What I'm trying to get at is a huge contributor. It's not the end all be all, but it is a huge contributor. But yeah, tell great stories, tell them well, and if you just spend half as much time planning out your story as you do the actual animation process, your animations, because once you create and craft this amazing story that you're excited to make, you will have no problem with demotivation and burnout. Maybe a little bit, but not nearly as much as if you just made an animation, 1 minute animation. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I'm making this, but I just want to make an animation. It's harder to keep consistent with that, because in the back of your mind, you're like, why am I making this? At least on some subconscious level. So, yeah, make a story, craft a story that you can really get behind. Like, take the Iron Squad. This is a super funny brick film, and I cannot wait for it to be finished. I'm very much slacking on it. I'm not gonna be dishonest here. I am kind of slacking on it and taking way too much time on it, but I'm not burning out from it because I know it's gonna be awesome. So that's another reason you want to focus on the story, because think about it this way. You tell a great story, you're going to want to double up your animations and lighting and sound design to tell the story the best it can be. So let that be the motivator for you improving your animation skills. It's easier to improve your animation skills when it's behind a great story, because now you have you have this great story in mind, and you're like, I want to do my best to tell it the best way I can. And when you have that mindset going in, it's a lot easier to get better animation, because you're bought into this. You're like there is like so much you can do, and it's just like, oh, I can improve this thing to make this better. I can just like always get better scene by scene. Like they talk about productivity, to talk about like getting 1% better every day. Well, every scene you animate, what if you just got better 1%? What if you improve this aspect of your animation every single scene? Right? I'm going off on a little bit of tangent here, but this is a podcast. This is where I go on tangents. But yeah, just have that mindset going in, like, how can I make this scene 1% better than my last scene? What can I do? What can I do here? Can I follow an arc more consistently? Can I work on poses better? Can I maybe like the camera angles? Maybe I can work on giving a little extra effort on the camera angles to tell the story better. Because when you have everything contribute to the overall story, then one day it's all gonna click. It's just gonna be like, oh, well, I want to convey this emotion. Okay, I do a top-down shot with my camera. Oh, I want to show this guy having like authority in the scene. Okay, I'll shoot the camera from the bottom, looking up at his face. Of course, that's not normal, or like it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. I think that because I've learned it and practiced it. But yeah, it's just getting a feel and be like, how does this scene make me feel? And does that feeling contribute to what the story is trying to convey in the scene? Right? If you can do that, then, quality, rest assured, quality is there. I'm going to hop off that train before I talk about it for the next hour. Oh, bother. Wait, okay. You just saw a glimpse of the waiting screen. Whoops. We have the next question from John Wilkes Booth. 18655. He asked, new to the channel and absolutely love what you're doing. Thank you, Mr. John. I very much appreciate that. Who or what inspired you to start making your own brick films, and did they have an impact on how you produce your brick films? Very good question. I would say, of course, I've said it a million times. I saw like a choppy animation and on YouTube, and I was like, I gotta figure out how to do this. What is this? Lego stop motion. I'm gonna do everything I can to learn about this. And I got a book, and then I started watching a couple Brickfilmers, and I was like, I'm not gonna say the Brickfilmers because I don't want to like talk bad about them. They weren't bad. It's just what they inspired me to do, because it was good animation. It was just basic, right? It was just kind of sterile. But I thought that was like the gold standard. I thought it was like, my eyes were not experienced in animation. Everything I saw, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. This is the best thing ever. I didn't know you can make stuff that's great. And now I'm looking back at it and I'm like, that lighting stinks. I'm just such a critic these days. My goodness. But back then I was like, everything is the gold standard. So I let that be the gold standard. I'm like, oh, really? If I can just do a simple walk cycle and I can move their arms up and down, man, and I can swap out their faces. Ooh, if I can just do that, I would have mastered stop motion. And I just let that be the gold standard for me. And because of that, I didn't really improve. I think that's also one of the reasons I didn't really improve, because I didn't see anybody who would inspire me to get better than where I was then. And so I just kind of made mediocre stuff. And so it wasn't until like a couple years ago when I started actually figuring out that there is a literal stop motion community on YouTube. I started watching people and some animators, some tutorials, and I was like, they were talking about ambition in your animations and like, making it better and better and thinking in terms of how can I make this twice as good as it is right now. And like that like blew me away. I'm like, wait a minute, I can do better than this. I'm way too basic. I need to think outside the box. I need to get creative. Of course, my stuff was creative. It's just I wasn't giving myself the permission to actually make stuff outside my comfort zone and do things I wasn't used to doing. But once I did that, I'm like, man, Now I'm actually improving. Now I see how it is. This is how you do it. That's cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think the moral to that story is, learn from people who make animations that you want to animate. But also, don't stop there. Once you get to their level, see if you can find any other animators who are doing better than you, and try to see how do they do it? What is their mindset behind it? How do they go about doing this? And that can really be helpful. All right. The 8th question is from Optimus Prime. I'm not going to pretend that I can do a good Optimus Prime voice. This is the best that I can do. Anyways, not a huge Transformers fan, but that's besides the point. He asked, question for the next podcast. When working with voice actors, should I ask them to do their lines for the film, send them to me, and then I animate to the audio, or do the voices myself and then add the lines in post? So I think what you're asking here, hold on, let me get a drink of water real quick. I think what you're asking here is should I wait for all of my voiceover people to submit their lines before I animate? Or should I go ahead and animate, but I still want to animate to voice lines, so I make my own little temporary voice lines in place of their lines that I can animate to, and then once I finish the animation, they're finished with their lines, I can put their lines over the animation that's already been animated. Honestly, that's a good idea. I just wouldn't recommend it. For one reason. You will more than likely interpret the script differently than the next person. You may say a line let me think of a sentence. How do you do? I don't know. My brain just came up with that. How do you do? You may say it how do you do? But the next guy, you can put all the description of how they should say it, but they interpret those words differently as well, so you can't really depend on that either. They may say it as, how do you do? I don't know. If it's a quirky character, that gets, everybody takes their own creative liberties with that. Or they may say how do you do? and that's great and all, except when you animate something, a scene, a dialogue scene, to a almost monotone voice, and then you get their voice lines afterwards, and it's this super excited voice and exaggerated voice, those two things aren't gonna pair together. They're gonna clash, because you're gonna have standard animation with exaggerated voice lines, or you may have exaggerated animation with monotone voice lines. In any event, you don't want that. And so my recommendation is just wait until you have all the voice lines, go through them all, edit them all in a timeline that you can then import to Stop Motion Studio, listen to it, make sure it all sounds good. If not, don't feel free to let your voiceover people redo their lines. You can use that line to animate if it's close enough, and then you just have them do variations of that line that you can then overlay over. But I would say just wait until you have the voice lines, put it up on Stop Motion Studio so you know exactly what you're animating. There's no guesswork. You don't want guesswork. You want to know exactly what the next frame needs, because you know what the next frame's dialogue is. That's the key. So yeah, if it were me, I would do that. Of course, there is a waiting phase to that where you got to wait on people. I'm not that I'm against people voiceovering for my projects. I mainly just don't have people voiceover because I really enjoy doing voiceovers. I want to do all the voiceovers I can do. But if I'm having people voiceover my projects, I'm going to do it way in advance to actually animating it. Like, I'll get the script ready. Maybe I'm animating another project right now. While I'm animating that project, I'll get a script ready, send it out to whoever I want to voice over for specific characters. That way they already have like a 1 week notice, or a 2 week notice even, if you're really scheduled like that. So that way you don't have to worry about delays. So you can be like, hey, I got 10 lines I need you to do by the end of next week. Can you do it? Yes or no? And if they're confident they can do it, then, you know. And typically, like, they get it done within like 2 or 3 days. Typically. That's not everybody. But yeah, I would just recommend waiting. And for next time you make a project, just script it while you're animating something else, while you're working on another project. So that way you give them that 1 to 2 week notice. So you don't have to, you give them all the time they need, so you don't have to worry about waiting on them when you're ready to animate. And for where you're at right now, because it sounds like you're waiting, like, maybe just animate some non-dialogue scenes, and maybe build some sets in the meantime to prepare you for the next scenes. I don't know, do some animation tests to improve. You know, there's a million things you could do while you wait. I get it. You want to make this animation as quick as possible. But yeah, prepare for when you make it. Prepare through set design. Maybe make some animation tests. So if you have like a scene that's like very complicated, you already know how to animate it ahead of time. And yeah, that's what I would recommend. All right. The next question is from Geo Studios Animations. I don't know why I did that. He asked, can you talk about how you made the custom 501st Troopers for the Iron Squad? They look really cool, by the way! ! Well, I appreciate that. That I can take no credit from, because that is my brother, aka Off the Wall Animations. He basically just used some apple barrel paint from like Hobby Lobby and painted it over the clone troopers. He actually has a whole video about it on his channel. Shout out Off the Wall Animations. I'll try to link it down in the description if I remember. I'll write it down actually right now, because I know if I don't write it down, I'll likely forget. Wow, it's really hard to talk while you write. Paint video. Okay. But yeah, he did that. He just painted it on the clone troopers, and he also like pulled up some reference photos to get some ideas and inspiration, and it came out pretty good. It's actually pretty easy to animate. Surprisingly, it hasn't chipped off, as like, at least that I know of. So pretty cool. Yeah, check out his channel. He hasn't posted in over a year, so that stinks. But yeah, just actually, I'm gonna take the moment. Everybody, go to Off the Wall Animations channel and just spam, please post another video. We need you. Go animate something. You know, get back to work. You know, just start a revolt. Make him make another video. He's gonna not that he checks his comments, but if he does, he's gonna have like 20 comments, and he's gonna be like, what in the world? I'm not even gonna tell him. Oh boy. Anyways, yeah. Let's see. We have our final question. Actually, 2 questions, but final questionnaire. Minotaur Productions. He asks, question for the next podcast. What's your favorite animated movie? Not the story not the story and plot, just the animation, and also what would you think of a Lego stop motion website where you could watch the best animators and you would have to pay very low for it? Also, the videos would not be posted on YouTube. Ooh, that's a cool idea. I'm going to start with the first question. What's my favorite animated movie just based on the animation alone? I gave this about a minute of thought, and I would say the Lego movie would probably be it. Namely because I am just really impressed that they made that movie feel so much like stop motion and everything is Lego. Like, they rigged it up so, like typical Lego movies, like the Ninjago movie, where like the minifigure doesn't move like a minifigure. It's kind of more flexible and more versatile. Whereas the Lego movie doesn't do that. They went all in on the Lego aspect of it. I really like that they did that. They even put like fingerprints on the minifigures. I'm like, and like put little chips on the minifigures, 3D models of course, but like they put so much effort into it to make it feel as realistic as possible, and I really liked it. And it really holds up to this day. When did that movie come out? What was it, like 2010? Maybe 2012, something like that. But yeah, that's just, or wait, no, it just turned 10 years old. Maybe it was like 2014 or 2013. I would say, yeah. But yeah, that would be my favorite, just animation wise, because it's just really cool. Also, I'll pull one out the bag. Charlie Brown, like the old Charlie Brown Christmas. Like, I'm not talking about the story. The story's just awesome, but the animation is just so basic and simple that it's kind of charming and pleasing. It's just enjoyable to watch. It's got that vibe to it of like, just like nothing flashy. Just, it feels like it was just made. I don't know how to explain it. It was just, it's just classy. It's classy. Yeah, we'll go with classy. I just like how it's just so simple. I don't know. I just really like it. I like how it doesn't look good, if that makes sense. It has that style to it. Like, so simple that it shouldn't work, but yet it still holds up to this day because it was just like so simple. I like that. But yes, your next question about a Lego stop motion, pretty much a streaming service to say people pay like $5 a month. They watch only the best hand curated, filtered Lego stop motion videos. And I would say, you said like they wouldn't be posted on YouTube. I would say they should be posted on YouTube because it wouldn't work if the best animators couldn't post on YouTube, because that's kind of mainly where they put their animations on. But I would say what the main selling point of the streaming service isn't that, I mean, I'm just maybe out there, but isn't that, you can only find these animations on here, but it's more of the service of filtering out only the best animations. So you have a one-stop shop to finding only the best animations and binging them. I don't think there's a huge market for that, honestly. If I'm being completely honest, maybe, yeah, it wouldn't work. But I mean, it's a cool idea. I think if you worked on it a bit more and like brainstormed a bit more of how you can make it work, I think that'd be really cool. One thing I immediately think of is like, how would you pay the animators? Would it be a commission based? Would it be based on how many views their animations got? Yeah, that's interesting. It's not a bad idea, honestly. I think it needs a little refining, but definitely something cool to think about in your pastime. I mean, that's cool. That's a really cool idea. But yeah, I think that is the last question. That means we are entering the outro of this podcast. Hopefully you got some value from that. If you have any follow-up questions or any questions you want me to answer in the next episode of the podcast, then feel free to comment them down below. Let's see, what am I trying to say here? Oh yeah, pick up the storytelling cheat sheet, link in the pinned comment below. It'll help you out. Also, I have a bonus gift for you if you do that. It's an animation setup checklist. So you can ditch the story plot. You can just go straight to the animation setup checklist. It's all right there if you subscribe to the link in the pinned comment. Nothing sketchy. It's just an email list where I send you weekly animation tips. So it's only goodies. It's only the goodies. It's all you get is the goodies. There's nothing. It's all free. It's just, put in your email and you get all this good stuff. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I just wanted to say again, thank you all so much for watching. All of you who have been here since episode 1, I really appreciate all of you. This is great. I still can't believe we're on episode 10. It feels like episode 5 or episode 6. Episode 10? What? Dude, I've said this before, but as long as you guys keep asking these awesome questions, and as long as you guys are still getting value from the podcast, dude, we're going to episode 50. We're going to episode 100. We can go to episode 1,000. How much would that be? That would be every other week. Divided by 1,000. Wait, no. That's 2 episodes a month. 1,000, I guess 500. Wait, what math am I? 500 months. Wait, what? Would it? No, that wouldn't be. Oh, wait. 2 episodes a month. For 12 months, that'll be 24 episodes. Whoa. Okay. Never mind. Maybe we're not going to episode 1,000. That's a long commitment. Definitely going to episode 100, though. Maybe? I don't know. We will see. But as long as I'm having fun with this, and as long as you guys are getting value from it, we're just going to keep this thing going. Yeah. Also thinking about getting... I'm not going to say that. People are going to blow up comments. Hey! No, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that. Yeah. I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching until the end. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. God bless you. And have an awesome rest of your day.